This is Joe,
Michelle,
Melissa,
and Shannon with More Than a Sniff, where we talk about everything dog.
From training to nutrition,
from behavior modification to grooming,
from vet visits to dog parks,
from getting to know us to having guests. Today we're going to talk about...
And Michelle.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. We are...
It's kind of that time of year.
Yes.
We are super excited to talk to you about your job and all that you do in the world of dog training and acting and how that all comes together. So we'll just kind of get started here and if you could just tell us a little bit about you and what you do and then we'll go from there. We'll have some questions for you.
Well, I've been training, and I actually started in rescue. To make it simple, I desperately wanted a dog, and then I kind of fell into rescue, and then I kind of fell into training. Because every time I do something, I always like to research it. I always like to, do everything I can to know everything about what I'm going to do.
Sure.
So, it went from I'm going to buy a golden retriever to I'm going to rescue a golden retriever to I'm going to rescue a pit bull to I'm going to start a rescue group to, I need help training these animals. And then I started, hiring different trainers and decided it was something I love to do. So it was a career change for me.
Okay.
And that was when I was 30. So it was 20 years ago. And now I started in specializing with rescue animals and behavior problems and ended up was a funny roundabout because I ended up on Broadway. And then the third show that I did on Broadway was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime with puppies and rats. And they were golden retriever puppies. So it was just, it was funny because the whole entire, my whole obsession started with golden retrievers.
Right.
25 years ago.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah. So then, then I had all the golden retriever puppies I could ever possibly watch.
Right. So what all did that entail for you? I mean, were you continuing to have your dog training business there and training for Broadway or?
Well, it was curious because I had the puppies and the rats in my home. I couldn't really do a lot of training on the side.
Yeah.
With the current show that I'm doing, I'm really trying to keep my feet in my business because I love it. I love all aspects of my business.
Right.
And so when I remember coming off of Curious, I had to sort of get my bearings again, things that were just easy peasy for me before. I had to think about them,
Yeah.
I potty trained 23 puppies in a row. I could tell you anything about puppies and puppy behavior
right.
but my love has always been, the more interesting cases,
Sure.
I love the puzzles. So I had to sort of work my puzzle brain again. So so now I'm doing another show and I'm trying to, I hired a wrangler to take some of the shows so that I can still keep my foot in the business and still continue to take lots of different cases. And, and also there are not a lot, there are a lot more trainers doing aggression now, but I kind of, aggression or other behavior stuff, but I kind of love it.
Yeah.
And there aren't that many, it's more like, oh my God, what did I just get here?
Sure.
Whereas with me, I'm like, oh, leash aggression, I'm in.
Yeah. Yep.
And there are a few of me. I'm not, and there are a lot of really amazing trainers out there.
Sure.
I certainly don't think I'm the only one, but I know that it's something that I love and that I do well. And I feel like it's something that I should keep my hand in because I feel like it helps me give back.
Sure. So what got you started in the Broadway world and in that direction?
A random phone call from a company manager who needed 2 elderly dogs of mice and men.
Okay.
And I just happened to have a couple of senior dogs. So I auditioned them and we got the part. So that was the beginning.
Gotcha.
And then when that show ended, I got 3 shows right away. So I was opening 3 more shows, like just a couple of months after Mice and Men closed. Which was crazy.
And so you're, as far as, take us in a little bit of a day in life as far as one of the shows and what all the dogs had to perform and how you accomplished that as a trainer to help them feel and be successful up on stage.
Well, I always look for an animal who is naturally, I feel like animals are, part nature, part nurture.
Mm-hmm.
And I look for the animals who are naturally super gregarious, who love attention, the hams.
Yep.
The ones who like to who really enjoy being social and meeting lots of different people and things and don't mind crowds. And then I basically treat them as if they're a super fearful animal that needs to be super socialized. So I just throw a lot of extra socialization on top of that and really, work on making everything fun for them. Big crowds screaming, I work up to making things fun for them. I always play, I get the soundtrack, I get all of the, the audio from the show in advance, and I play the audio for the dog and I run it through there. I run them, whatever animal I'm working with, I run them through all of their routine with gradually increasing volumes. If the animal has to be in a crowd around dancing, around other things, I will bring in those elements. If they have to be, like, we had kittens on a turntable, so, we would always, my wrangler would drag them around the kitchen on a towel,
right,
just to get them used to being moved around in circles.
Yep.
And, so we try to replicate what they're going to experience on stage in itty bitty doses.
Sure.
So, I start with like the lowest volume, and I gradually increase it until it's something that they're super comfortable with and they look forward to, which is exactly what you would do if you had like a shy or a fearful animal.
Right. Yep. Yep.
But I'm taking an animal who's born bomb proof, and I'm adding extra proofing.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's worked really well. It's worked in that, I had a dog who had to run out on the stage during the curtain call,
You're right.
It was a standing ovation every night, and there were the lights and the applause, and she could not wait to get out there.
Nice.
So
do you go, they tell you what you need and then what they need, and then you go out and find that and train to it. And then are they your dogs, or are they dogs that need
it depends
homes?
It depends on the situation.
Okay.
With some shows I went and found rescues. With some shows I had to go to breeders because they had a very specific kind of dog in mind. So, which kind of opened me up, and I met some, really wonderful, responsible, genuine breeders.
Yep.
And that was a nice new world for me because, I'd been in the rescue world for so long.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see that there, it's in every community, there are some that are amazing and some that are not so amazing.
Yep.
I go and find, and, if I don't have it, and one of my clients doesn't have it, a lot of my private clients just have really great dogs.
Yep.
So, if I don't have a dog to choose from my own little pool, then I go and find one.
Gotcha. Shannon, what questions?
So I'm just kind of curious about kind of the behind the scenes when you're at the theater. You have a handler that's like off stage in the wings, and then do you have the actors give the dog cues? How does the dog take the cues as part of the play?
I will run the cue with the animal so much that it becomes automatic for them. So that, like all of my animals it doesn't take long. Even the puppies that I only have for 4 weeks, they knew their musical cues. They knew, the rat in Curious Incident, she knew when they said 5 minutes, it was time for her to run and jump in her little carrier. And she would come out of nowhere and be like, 5 minutes, it's time. The puppy, in Curious Incident, we would wait, just outside, just downstairs from the stage door. And he knew as soon as he heard the line that I was going to take him upstairs, that he would stop whatever he was doing and just run up the stairs. It was just like, they all know it. They all just get it.
So they're taking the cues the same way the actors in the play are, from the lines of the script, from the musical notes, from the lighting changes. So just exactly the same as an actor would.
Yes. And the actors, work with the animals to varying degrees. And I always make time for the actors and the animals, but sometimes the actors have like a lot to do. So, they've got a lot to do in the show. So I have to prep the hell out of the animal because I know that I'm not going to get as much time with the actor as I would like. Yeah. So I really, really have to super proof the animal.
Can you tell us about some of the difficult things about your job and some of the rewarding things about it?
About what?
About what you're doing with the dogs on Broadway, some of the difficult things that you've had to face, and then some of the most rewarding things.
Well, I mean, difficult, my first show, I had a senior dog who was, not holding his, holding so well. He was becoming incontinent, but he didn't have a lot of time between the time he woke up and time he had to go. And,
right.
And I ended up having to hire an extra person to pick him up and carry him outside. They're just like, there's silly things like that, know?
Yeah.
It's, making sure that the animals do their business before that's actually, it's, of course it's a big deal, but it's a really big deal to make sure the animals are potty trained. And, when you have 23 puppies in a row, I was really happy that we never had an accident on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Kudos to you. That's great.
Yeah. It was amazing for socialization because the cast would just lie down on the stage when I brought in a new puppy, and I would just set the puppy free, and the puppy would just run all over and, whittle all over all of the actors. And it was perfect because I had a trained group of humans who were going to interact with the puppy appropriately, which is all you can ask for when you're socializing a puppy.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
So,
what's the most rewarding thing?
The most rewarding thing is really seeing how much the animals love to have a job and perform. It's, it's amazing. This kind of goes in with a challenge and a reward is, like the first dog that we had for mice and men. She was such a good girl that I would just let her follow me around the theater, and she was naked, just waiting to go on.
Right.
And one day I was getting coffee and she just broke away and, she didn't have I wasn't expecting her to leave me, and ran up and almost ran off the stage at the top of the show. And, fortunately a crew member swept down and scooped her up.
Sure.
But yeah, she was really excited about going on stage,
Yeah.
And, that's happened to me more than once where I've had to really keep an animal back from the stage where they get so excited about going on.
Right.
That it's like, I have to find that balance, that was another challenge early on, was like, I had a puppy who didn't like, going in the box to go out on stage for Curious. And, we had to work on that. And when I got him to love the box, he didn't want to come out of the box.
Right.
So, I got better and better at figuring out how to get the puppies to like to jump in the box, how to like jumping out of the box, how to like running around on stage. It's like, it was a, and then every puppy is a little bit different, but but there was some, but I learned how to figure out what worked for each puppy, as we continued.
Yeah.
That was puppy number 3. So it was, it was way in the beginning.
Sure. What do you find from a dog trainer's standpoint, as far as from training behavior modification and basic obedience, and then, this world is it's just different because it's such a different purpose, to what you're doing. What do you find, just in...
It is and it isn't. I mean, I think
Right.
that's why I was, that's why I was successful at it, because I also had a kind of a niche, where it's dog training is people training.
Right.
Dog training
Yep.
is people training.
Yep.
You really have to train the people. But I sort of, over the years, I had built a clientele who would actually just have me work with their dogs, 5 days a week, and I would work with the owner on the last day. So I could really, really train that dog. So the dog was like 75%. And then all I had to do was teach the owner how to do, it's a lot easier if you
Right.
have a dog who's like mostly trained,
Yep.
and then you teach the owner to just reinforce it,
Right.
and,
Yep.
and since I was in their home, it wasn't like a board and train. I was in their home, I was in their environment, I was interacting with the animals and the owners. It was kind of a, it was easy to sort of transition from that to the theater, which is basically the same. I train the hell out of the animal and I proof the hell out of them. So really they only have to meet me, 25% of the way.
Right.
To get what they need.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's, it's different if you're a trainer who's seeing clients like once a week or every 2 weeks or once a month or doing classes, it's not as easy because you really have to, you really, really have to work a lot with the humans.
Right.
And,
Yep.
And humans are, I love them. Well,
Yep.
listen, I mean, I remember I was taking a seminar from, my, I consider her like a goddess, Grisha Stewart, who does empowered animals, and she's just I've used so much of her stuff in both my field work and Broadway. But I took her 5-day instructor course, and at one point she looked at me and she was like, are we doing this your way or are we doing this my way? And I was like completely humbled because, the hard thing about working with people is that we already have our way of doing things.
Right. Yep.
Yep. And so it's really, the client already has a relationship with their animal. They already have, like, even if it's the theater, it's like the actors, the stage managers, the company managers, everybody already has their own way of doing things because everybody's pretty much had an animal in their life.
Right. Yep.
So
yep.
You have to basically show them your way of doing things. And it's, it's not easy to change that stuff. Like I really, I remember being in that workshop and thinking, God, there are people who've never done this before and they're killing it. And I'm fumbling with the leash.
Right.
Because
yep.
I have to change my whole way of doing things.
Right.
And it's harder to change your way of doing things than do a completely new thing.
Yeah.
And, so I think that's the challenge when you're working with the client is to really have empathy for that and really figure out what's going to help them,
right.
help their animal.
Right.
And I look at it, whether I'm working in the theater, whether I'm working with an animal, I always think, how do I want this person to treat their dog?
Yep.
Okay. That's how I'm going to treat them.
Sure. Yeah.
So if they, so if they're, I don't want them to say my dog is stubborn. He won't do what I say.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So I need to not look at them like they're being stubborn. I need to look at them and say, okay, how do I have to help this person?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So, that's, I think, that's more challenging if you have clients that you're just seeing once, every couple of weeks.
Yep.
Cause you can't, it's like, you can't help them as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always tell people that want to be a dog trainer, it's easy. Anybody can train a dog, but it's the people that you have to learn how
Yeah.
to train, and that's not the easy piece of training.
You have to listen. You have to listen to
Yep.
the animals, and you have to listen to the people.
Right.
And if you don't listen to the person, you're not going to get them to listen to their animal.
Right. Yep. So on Broadway, when you're, do they require you to audition with the dogs, or are you at a stage that
no,
you?
Generally, I mean, I
kind of proven
auditioned
yourself?
for my dog auditioned for that first show, but generally I'll have them tell me what kind of animal they're looking for, and I'll I'll go out and search for them, and depending, some directors want to see, like with Curious, the director always wanted to see the puppy and and get an idea of the puppy's weight and blah blah blah. They wanted a visual.
Right.
Right. I did another show where they wanted a black goat, so I had to find a black goat, and then it was like, is this the right black goat? But sometimes they just want a goat. We want
Sure.
a medium-sized goat.
Yep. Yep.
Or like with Mice and Men, they just wanted old dogs.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I generally will, get an idea of what they want, and then I go out and look, and I send them photos, because if they give me what the animal has to do, the criteria of like what the animal has to do in terms of performing, I will find animals that can perform that behavior, and then I'll send them photos and videos, and then they can decide which one
Gotcha.
they want for the show. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, so you're kind of proven yourself with the directors, that they reach out to you and go, this is what we need, and
Yeah.
they trust that that's what you're what you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, I've never, I've had, I've had a director. Once the director sees the animal and is happy with the visual that I'm giving them,
Yeah.
they, I can get behaviorally. I'm not gonna send them a picture of an animal that I can't train.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna look for animals that can perform the behaviors that they want, and I'll say, okay, you have this group of whatever to choose from.
Yeah. So what does that journey look like, as far as when you go out looking for, a dog, or, even a goat for that matter, that can perform that? What are the things that, I know you're looking for, the social part of it, but what are some of the traits that you're looking at that you that you can train what they're looking for in that?
I mean, honestly, if an animal is outgoing and, gregarious, and also laid back, it's all like, you can be laid back and also be sort of outgoing.
Sure.
You're looking for that animal where things don't faze them, but they're also, let's say I'm choosing a puppy, I'm going to choose the same puppy that I choose for a family with little kids. I'm going to sit down and let the puppies run all over the place, and I'm going to watch the one who's, outgoing without being obnoxious. And, I'm not looking for the shy puppy. I'm not looking for the one in the corner. I'm looking for the one that's like, oh, hey, what's going on? And once you have that, you can get the behaviors. Right. Unless somebody's asking me for like a really specific behavior, which hasn't happened yet. I thought it was going to happen with Frozen, but then they cut the dog. So.
Do you think that the general public has misconceptions about training dogs for Broadway, and what do you think those are?
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't hear that at all. Can you repeat that?
Do you think the general public has misconceptions about what you do, like training animals for Broadway shows, and what do you think those misconceptions are?
Definitely. I think, well, one of the things that really is, it's something that everybody does. Everyone always just sort of makes up stories in their head when they, when I'm walking. People are like, oh, the animals, those poor animals, they're forced to work, they're forced to perform. They love it. They love it. And not every animal loves it. I choose the one who loves it, and the ones who don't love it, I've had a couple of animals where I've taken that, I've been like, you're not right for the theater. Let's take you home, but it's really funny to see like it's, people automatically assume that I'm keeping the goats in an apartment in Manhattan. And it's like, no, no.
Come on. That would be
they
fun.
have a private pet taxi that takes them to a beautiful farm that's 30 minutes away from the city every day. It's just,
Right.
people automatically assume these like really strange things, that, somehow the animal is forced to, everything I do is completely and totally the animal's choice. I've never forced an animal to go on stage or do anything like that. It's just I pick the ones who do it naturally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest, it's funny. It's funny when when I'm walking down the street and I hear, oh my God, those poor animals. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm shoveling food in their mouth. I'm running with them. They're jumping on benches. They're having, look at their body language. They're loose and relaxed and their tails are wiggly. And, it's like,
Right.
that doesn't happen to a tortured animal.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So you've trained goats for the show, or did they have somebody else?
Wait, can you repeat again?
Yeah.
You're
So
going in and out.
with the goats, did you have to train and work with the goats, or did they have a different handler for different animals?
Oh no, I train all of them.
Okay.
I train all of the animals, and then I train, if I have a wrangler, I train the wrangler to work with the animals. But I always, even when I have when I had 3 shows, so I had different wranglers at 2 of the shows, I created, I developed the program. I trained the first set of kittens. I went and got the snakes. I acquired the snakes. I did all of the work and I created the program. And then the wrangler who worked with me, I worked with her and then she continued. So she trained all the subsequent sets of kittens, but it was based on the program that I developed.
Yeah. Gotcha. What do you, what advice if people, would love?
What do I?
Yeah, if people
keep going in and out. I'm sorry.
If people are interested out there in New York of hooking up and connecting with you, what would be the best way for them to connect with you? Whether it's dog training or people that feel like they have an animal that, would be good on Broadway for some.
That needs some training?
Yeah.
They can go to my website. They can go to my website, or they can go to my website and fill out a form, or they can send me an email.
And what's your website?
It's sitstaydogtraining.com.
And are you on social media?
So you're going in and out a lot right now, and I'm assuming it's you because I haven't moved.
Yeah, we haven't moved either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this better? I think this is better.
What?
Maybe I just turned my head a different way. It's sit, SITSTAY, sitstaydogtraining.com.
And are you on social media, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter?
I have, Facebook is my name, Lydia DesRoche.
Okay.
And Instagram is lydia.d.
Gotcha. Okay. Because we'd love to tag you and put you in when we post this podcast.
Absolutely. I would love that.
Is there any advice that you can give our listeners out there as far as just general dog training and just any advice that you have for them?
The number one piece of advice is to listen. If you to have a better relationship with your dog, to have a better relationship with your clients, just, whatever, your chicken, your rat, your goat, your kitten. It's really, I just listen. I observe and I listen because animals are body language communicators, and with, and you have to also really listen to humans.
Yep. That's awesome.
Hi, I'm sorry.
That's
that was
okay.
Another call. I sent it to voicemail. It's just, but I think that's the most important thing. Like the kind of training I do is called relationship-based training. It's all about, having a mutual, being mutually respectful of each other's interests. And, and of course there are going to be certain things like, no, you can't cross the street until I tell you can cross the street.
Right. Yep.
There are always,
Yep.
I'm not saying that you're just going, what would you like, doggy? Here, let me just do everything for you. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
But I'm also, if a dog doesn't want to roll over, I'm not going to make them roll over. I'm going to find something they like to do.
Yep.
I'm not going to try to put them in, I'm not going to try to put any animal in a situation that that's not natural and comfortable for them.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the owners. I mean, sometimes I remember one owner who was really struggling with her dog, and I just sat there and I was like, search and rescue, tricks, Frisbee. And I just waited until her eyes lit up, and her eyes lit up for Frisbee. And I took so many Frisbee seminars because I couldn't throw, but I was like, I am going to make this woman and her dog enjoy their life together.
Right.
And they need to have some things, and I was like, oh, Frisbee, your dog will like Frisbee and you like Frisbee. Let's make this happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's just finding things that you both like to do.
Right. Yeah. That's
And,
awesome.
and sometimes that's hard if there are a lot of people who, get a dog and don't realize that, especially if they get a dog for, because they like the way it looks or because it was in the pound and, was going to be killed, euthanized the next day. And, and they end up with this dog that has completely different set of interests.
Right. Yep.
So I feel like that's what I do is I work really hard to bring them and their animal together. I work really hard to find a way to make them enjoy their life together.
Nice. That's awesome. That is very respectable and fantastic to hear. And if we're ever out your direction, we'll definitely hook up with you.
Definitely. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure. We will, I'll let you know when the podcast runs, and we'll make sure that we tag you as well when we post everything.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Great talking to you.